life. You have to understand where I'm at, right at half a block off the beach, and blessed with a very wonderful setup as far as the shop. And my favorite thing when we moved into the shop was this ladder 8 steps out of my shaping room door that goes up between the buildings to a roost on the top of the building, and it gives me a complete view of the whole beach system between Crystal Pier and South Bird or PB Point. So, once or twice a day, depending on what's going on with the swell, I'll jump up there to keep tabs on it. And the ultimate day for me is to get a board done and get 2 hours of surfing in, either early or late. Preferably late. I like to get my work done and then my surf. My inspiration for the 12-foot board, well, it probably goes back in the early 60s. I think it was about 1962 where Henson was doing all of my shaping until about 64. And we got off on this tangent. A lot of it had to do with Phil Edwards, who we were inspired by pretty much, and he rode these longer, heavier boards. There was one period of time there where we rode between 10 and 11-foot boards, never over 11 feet. There was just something about the weight and the feel and the glide and everything, the majesticness of the length, that stuck with me through the years. So as longboarding came back around, Dale Belzy and George Downey crafted these 2 big blanks, kind of for Waikiki and San Onofre type conditions, and it was an 11.3 and a 12.3 blank. And there was a fellow who was in the business with us at the time that was a heavy-set fellow. He waited in line for the blanks to come, and he was the first one that I shaped the board for out of the 11-foot blank. And then he rode it one weekend. He was pretty enthused about it, so he left it with me for the week. First day I rode it was real small surf. I didn't really get the feel of it. The next 2 days I rode Sunset Cliffs at about 3 to 5 feet. And man, it was the biggest buzz that almost I ever had through 40 years of surfing. I mean, just the glide and the speed and the overall feel just captured my imagination. And it kind of went back into the roots of time. Right in the middle of that period, from 1993, I was riding exclusively 11 and 12-foot boards. And Tom Blake had written this book in 1935 called Hawaiian Surf Riders. And there's a story of the Duke and his shaping of this giant 16-foot board. The story I related to the max, because to a degree it was where I was located, where I was coming from, and the enthusiasm that I had at the time was displayed in the story. The story goes, Duke got this 16-foot piece of redwood from California to craft this board. Well, it was still pretty green, so he had to just put it up in the rafters of Waikiki and let it cure for a while. And then finally, when it got to a stage where it was cured, he scooped out the deck and tried to get some of the weight down and put planking over it. So I don't know how long this took, but finally he got this accomplished, and I guess they waited for outside Waikiki to break, and he and Blake paddled out. In fact, as the story goes, they named part of Waikiki that day. Blake was sitting out there and he asked Duke, what do they call this part of the break in Hawaiian? And Duke says, well, they really haven't got a name for this part of the break. So Blake says, well, let's name it in honor of the big board. The name Papa in Hawaiian is board, and Nui is big, so Papa Nui, part of Waikiki, that's where that name originated. So anyhow, Duke was a very mild-mannered guy. He didn't really carry on too much. Blake's description of Duke's ride, he was screaming at the top of his voice all the way to the beach. Yeah! I mean, he was just like jacked up. And I kind of really identified with where he was at, because that's how I felt for like 3 years, just riding these big boards, just the glide and the speed. And I mean, he was probably going faster than he ever went, and covering flat sections that he couldn't never cover on the regular 10-foot board, because between 10 and 30, your average size board in Waikiki was, the redwoods were about 10 feet. So anyhow, Duke was getting kind of stale with surfing to a degree, and it became his favorite board, and really rejuvenated his stoke on surfing.